You want to know the exact moment I realized my own son saw me as garbage? It was 7:47 on a Tuesday morning. I was standing at the stove making his kids' lunches. Turkey and cheese for Bella, no crusts, extra pickles on the side. PB&J for Jackson, cut diagonally, not straight across because God forbid the sandwich is wrong. I'd already been up since 5:30 a.m., started a load of laundry, emptied the dishwasher, packed the diaper bag, and laid out clothes for both kids. My son Dylan walked into the kitchen, didn't say good morning, didn't acknowledge the coffee I'd made him, didn't notice I was standing there at all until he slapped a piece of paper down on the counter so hard it made me jump. "You know what this is, Mom?" His voice was ice cold. I looked down. It was the electric bill, $347 for the month. "This," he said, jabbing his finger at it like he was stabbing something, "is what it costs to keep you comfortable. You know what we can't afford anymore? You." Then he called me the word that shattered my heart into a million pieces. Freeloader. I'm Eleanor Hayes. I'm 65 years old, and this is the story of how I became invisible in my own son's home and how I finally made myself seen again. But honey, this story doesn't start with that electric bill. It starts 5 years earlier with a phone call that changed everything. I was in my kitchen in my little house in Raleigh, North Carolina, the house where I'd raised Dylan, where I'd nursed my husband Robert through his final months of pancreatic cancer, where every corner held 43 years of memories, when my daughter-in-law, Vanessa, called. "Eleanor," she said, and I could hear the exhaustion in her voice. "I need to ask you something, and please know we wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate." My heart started racing. "What's wrong? Are the kids okay?" "The kids are fine. It's just Dylan and I are drowning. My promotion means I'm traveling 3 days a week now. Dylan's working 12-hour days at the firm trying to make partner. We've gone through 3 nannies in 4 months. Either they quit, or they're unreliable, or they're on their phones the whole time. Bella's struggling in first grade. Jackson still isn't sleeping through the night. And honestly, Eleanor, we can't do this alone anymore." I heard her take a shaky breath. I heard her crying. "Would you, God, I hate even asking this. Would you consider moving to Charlotte, moving in with us, just for a little while until we get on our feet? We have that guest suite downstairs that's just sitting empty. You'd have your own space. And the kids, Eleanor, the kids need you. They need their grandmother. They need stability." Now, here's what you need to understand about me. I'd been widowed for 6 months. 6 months of rattling around that empty house, hearing Robert's voice in every room, crying myself to sleep in a bed that felt too big, too cold, too quiet. 6 months of my son calling me once a week out of obligation, conversations lasting maybe 5 minutes before he'd say, "Gotta run, Mom, talk soon." 6 months of wondering if this was it, if this was the rest of my life, alone. So when Vanessa asked me to be needed again, to be useful, to have a purpose, I said yes before I even thought it through. "Of course," I told her, my voice thick with tears. "Of course I'll come. You're my family. This is what family does." "Oh, Eleanor, thank you. Thank you so much," Vanessa sobbed. "We'll make it work. I promise. And Dylan and I were talking. If you sold your house, you could invest that money, have a nice nest egg. Or if you wanted to help us with the down payment on a bigger place, somewhere with a real in-law suite for you, we could make this a long-term thing. We'd be roommates." She laughed. "Multi-generational living, right? Like the old days." Red flag number 1, but I was so desperate to feel wanted, I ignored it. "I'll think about the house," I said, "but I'll start packing this week." I sold my house in November, the house where I'd planted rose bushes, where Dylan took his first steps, where Robert proposed to me on the back porch under the stars. I got $285,000 after closing costs and paying off the tiny mortgage we had left. Dylan and Vanessa found a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial in a Charlotte suburb with excellent schools. It was $475,000, way more than they could afford on their own with their debt load. Mom, Dylan said on the phone, and I could hear that tone. That asking for money but pretending he's not tone. This house is perfect. Huge backyard for the kids, office space for both of us, and an entire finished basement with a bedroom, bathroom, and a sitting area. Basically your own apartment. But we're $80,000 short on the down payment, even with our savings. I didn't even hesitate. I'll give you $100,000, I said. Consider it an investment in our family, in our future together. The silence on the other end should have told me everything. Mom, wow, are you sure? That's incredibly generous. You're my son, I said simply, and those are my grandchildren. Of course I'm sure. We moved into that house together in January 2019. I had a room in the basement. They called it Grandma's Suite. It had no windows. At first, it was everything I'd hoped for. I'd wake up early, make coffee, get the kids ready while Dylan and Vanessa got themselves together for work. Bella was 6, Jackson was 3. Beautiful kids, smart, funny, full of energy. I'd make them breakfast, Mickey Mouse pancakes for Jackson, yogurt parfait for Bella, then drive Bella to school in my car, using my gas money, come home, and spend the day with Jackson. We'd go to the park, read books, do puzzles. I'd clean the house while he napped, vacuum, dust, mop, clean bathrooms, change sheets, do laundry. By the time Bella got out of school at 3:15, I'd have snacks ready. I'd help with homework, drive them to soccer, to gymnastics, to play dates. Vanessa would text, "Can you grab milk on the way home? Jackson needs to be at the dentist at 4. Bella's science project is due tomorrow. Can you help her?" And I'd do it. All of it. Happily. I'd have dinner ready when they got home, something healthy, something the kids would actually eat. I'd do the dishes, give the kids baths, read bedtime stories, tuck them in. Dylan and Vanessa would collapse on the couch, pour wine, stare at their phones. "Thanks for dinner, Mom," Dylan might mumble, or sometimes he wouldn't say anything at all. At first, they seemed grateful. Vanessa would hug me. "What would we do without you?" Dylan would occasionally say, "You're a lifesaver, Mom." But slowly, so slowly, I didn't even notice it happening. Things changed. The requests became demands. The thank yous became rare, then disappeared completely. My presence went from appreciated to expected. When I mentioned I was thinking about joining a book club on Tuesday evenings, Vanessa's face fell. "But Tuesdays are when Dylan has his networking dinners. I can't do bedtime alone with both kids." When I asked if maybe we could hire a cleaning service to help out just once a month, Dylan looked at me like I'd suggested we burn money. "Mom, you're home all day. What else are you doing?" What else was I doing? Let me tell you what I was doing. I was up by 5:30 a.m. 7 days a week. I made breakfast, packed lunches, did school drop-off and pickup, managed the kids' schedules, did all the grocery shopping, cooked every dinner, did every load of laundry, cleaned every room, managed every doctor's appointment, every parent-teacher conference, every birthday party, every holiday decoration, every thank you note, every single invisible task that kept that household running like a well-oiled machine. I was working 80 to 90 hours a week for free. And they started treating me like I was the burden. Year 2, things got worse. Dylan made partner at his law firm. Vanessa got promoted to regional director. Their combined income was probably close to $350,000 a year. I was still living in that windowless basement room. The gratitude had completely evaporated. Now I was just part of the furniture, expected to be there, expected to do everything. Never thanked, never acknowledged. And the complaints started. "Mom, did you really need to run the heat this high? Our utility bills are insane." I was keeping the house at 68 degrees. I have arthritis. I get cold. "Eleanor, do you have to run the washing machine so often? Our water bill was $90 this month." I was washing clothes for a family of 5, including 2 young children. Mom, you're going through groceries like crazy. Can you maybe buy less expensive brands? I was feeding their entire family 3 meals a day. Vanessa started talking to me like I was the hired help. Worse than hired help, actually, because at least employees get paid and can quit. Eleanor, I need you to make sure Jackson's Batman costume is ready for the party on Saturday. And can you bake cupcakes? Homemade, not store-bought. The other moms will judge. Eleanor, I invited some colleagues for dinner next Friday. Can you do that chicken thing you make and make sure the house is spotless? First impressions matter. Eleanor, can you run to Target? Here's a list. Oh, and can you pick up my dry cleaning and stop by the post office? Never please, never thank you, never is that okay with you, or do you have time? Just orders. I became the ghost in that house. Present but invisible, essential but unvalued. And then came the money conversation. It was the third winter, December. I'd been living there for almost 3 years. I'd just finished making breakfast, homemade waffles, bacon, fresh fruit, and getting both kids off to school. It was 8:15 a.m. I was exhausted. I hadn't slept well because Jackson had a nightmare at 2 a.m. and crawled into my bed, and my bed in that basement was a double, barely big enough for both of us. Dylan came down the stairs in his suit, his face set in this hard expression I'd never seen before. Mom, we need to talk. My heart sunk. Those 5 words. Nothing good ever follows those 5 words. Okay, I said carefully. What's going on? He pulled out his phone and showed me a spreadsheet, an actual Excel spreadsheet. He said, Vanessa and I have been tracking household expenses, and we need to talk about your contribution. I stared at the spreadsheet. It had categories, utilities, groceries, water, internet, property tax, insurance. Your share, Dylan said, comes to about $1,400 a month. But you're not paying anything. You're living here completely free. The room started spinning. My share? I whispered. Well, yeah, Mom, you live here. You eat here, you use electricity, water, heat. That costs money. We can't keep subsidizing your lifestyle. I was sleeping in a basement room with no windows. I owned 4 outfits because I donated most of my clothes when I sold my house. I hadn't bought myself anything, not a book, not a meal out, not a single thing for myself in 3 years. Every penny of my small Social Security check went to gas for driving their kids around, groceries I bought without asking for reimbursement, little treats for Bella and Jackson. Dylan, I said, and my voice was shaking, I gave you $100,000 for this house, the house you're now charging me rent to live in? That was a gift, Mom. 3 years ago. You can't hold that over us forever. I'm not holding anything over you. I'm just saying, I contributed significantly, and I've been helping. Helping? Dylan's laugh was cruel. Mom, you live here. Yeah, you watch the kids sometimes and cook, but let's be real. What else would you be doing? You'd be alone in some apartment somewhere, bored out of your mind. We're doing you a favor, giving you purpose. I felt like he'd punched me in the stomach. Watching the kids sometimes, my voice came out louder than I intended. Dylan, I raise your children. I've been their primary caregiver for 3 years. I do everything in this house. Oh, here we go with the martyr act, he said, rolling his eyes. Nobody asked you to do all that. You just do it and then expect credit. I expect respect. Tears were streaming down my face now. I expect basic human decency. I'm your mother. And I'm your landlord, he shouted back. This is my house, my mortgage, my bills, and they've gone through the roof since you moved in. That's when Vanessa appeared at the top of the stairs. What's all the yelling about, she asked, annoyed. I have a conference call in 10 minutes. just explaining to Mom that she needs to start contributing financially, since she's basically a tenant. Vanessa sighed. Eleanor, we've been more than generous letting you stay here rent-free for this long. But we have financial goals. Dylan and I are trying to save for a lake house. We can't do that if we're supporting a third adult. A lake house. They were buying a lake house while telling me I was bankrupting them. So, starting January 1st, we need you to pay $1,400 a month. If you can't afford that, we'll need to discuss other living arrangements. He left the spreadsheet on the counter and walked out. I stood there in that kitchen, the kitchen I cleaned every single day, and I realized something. I wasn't family to them. I was free labor, and now that they were asking me to pay rent, I wasn't even free anymore. I was just in the way. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in that basement room in the dark, and I did something I hadn't done in 3 years. I calculated my worth. I Googled, how much does a live-in nanny cost? $3,500 to $4,500 per month for childcare only. How much does a housekeeper cost? $150 to $200 per visit. If I was cleaning their 3,200 square foot house top to bottom twice a week, that was $1,200 to $1,600 a month. How much does a personal chef cost? $500 to $1,000 a month for meal planning and preparation. How much does a household manager cost? $4,000 to $6,000 a month. I added it up. The services I was providing, childcare, housekeeping, cooking, household management, errand running, scheduling, administrative work, would cost them at minimum $9,000 to $12,000 a month if they hired professionals. $108,000 to $144,000 a year. I'd been doing it for 3 years. $324,000 to $432,000 worth of labor for free. And they were calling me a freeloader? They were telling me I didn't contribute? They were charging me $1,400 a month to keep doing it? That's when something inside me broke. And then something else, something stronger, clicked into place. The next morning, December 15th, I got up at my usual 5:30 a.m., but I didn't make coffee. I didn't start breakfast. I didn't lay out the kids' clothes. I got dressed, grabbed my purse, and walked out of the house. I went to IHOP and ordered myself a short stack with bacon and coffee. I sat there for 2 hours reading a book on my phone, drinking refills, enjoying the fact that someone else was serving me for once. My phone started buzzing at 7:15. Dylan. Mom, where are you? Kids need to get ready. Vanessa. Eleanor, are you here? I have a 7:30 meeting. Dylan, I'm serious. Where the hell are you? Vanessa. This is extremely unprofessional. We have jobs. I didn't respond. At 8:45, I drove to the public library. I got a library card, something I had been meaning to do for 3 years but never had time for. I checked out 4 novels. I sat in the reading room until noon. When I got home at 12:30, Vanessa's car was in the driveway. She was supposed to be at work. I walked in to find complete chaos. Jackson was still in his pajamas, crying, snot running down his face. The kitchen looked like a bomb went off, cereal spilled on the counter, milk left out, dishes everywhere. Vanessa was on her laptop at the dining room table, frantically typing, her hair a mess, stress written all over her face. She looked up when I walked in. "Where the hell have you been?" she hissed. "Out," I said calmly. "Out? Eleanor, I missed my morning meeting. Dylan had to call in late to work. We've been trying to reach you for hours." My phone was on silent. I was busy. Busy doing what? Living my life? Not working? Her face went red. This isn't funny, Eleanor. You can't just disappear without telling us we depend on you. And there it was. You depend on me, I repeated slowly. For what exactly? For the kids, the house, everything. So I do contribute then. She opened her mouth, closed it, her eyes narrowed. That's different. How? Because you live here. It's the least you can do. I set my library books down on the counter. Vanessa, I said quietly, Dylan told me yesterday that I need to pay $1,400 a month in rent starting January. He said I was a freeloader, said you were subsidizing my lifestyle. So I did some research. I pulled out my phone and showed her my notes. A live-in nanny costs $3,500 to $4,500 a month. A housekeeper costs about $1,500 a month. A personal chef costs $500 to $1,000. A household manager costs $4,000 to $6,000. The services I provide would cost you, conservatively, $10,000 a month. I've been doing this for 3 years. That's $360,000 worth of labor for free, plus the $100,000 I gave you for the down payment on this house. Her face went pale. So here's what's going to happen, I continued, my voice steady. If I'm a tenant who pays rent, then I'm no longer your employee. Starting today, I will pay you $1,400 a month, and I will do exactly what a tenant does. Live in my space and nothing else. You'll need to make your own childcare arrangements, cook your own meals, clean your own house, do your own laundry, manage your own schedules. Eleanor, you can't be serious. Or, I said, cutting her off, or you can acknowledge that I've been working full-time for you without pay for 3 years. You can apologize for calling me a freeloader, you can start treating me with respect, and we can negotiate an actual fair arrangement where my labor is valued. This is ridiculous, Vanessa sputtered. You're being manipulative. No, I said, I'm being clear. You have 2 options. Choose. I walked down to my basement room and closed the door. They chose wrong. That evening, Dylan came down to my room. Mom, this is childish, he said. You're throwing a tantrum. I'm setting boundaries, I corrected. We can't just hire someone overnight. We need you. Then treat me like you need me. Respect me. Value me. Pay me or stop charging me rent. Your choice. We can't afford to pay you. You can afford a lake house. His jaw clenched. That's our business. And my labor is mine. You want me to work? Compensate me. You want me to pay rent? I'll be a tenant and nothing more. You decide. He stormed out. For the next week, I stuck to my guns. I paid for my portion of utilities, $200, which I calculated based on one person's usage. I bought my own groceries and cooked only for myself. I stayed in my room. I didn't touch their laundry, their dishes, their mess. I didn't do school pickup. I didn't make lunches. I didn't babysit. The house fell apart. Vanessa had to take emergency PTO to cover childcare. Dylan was late to work 3 times. They went through an entire week of takeout because neither of them had time to cook. The laundry piled up. Bella forgot her homework. Jackson had a meltdown because nobody remembered it was pajama day at preschool. And they were furious. At me. You're being selfish, Vanessa yelled on day 5. These are your grandchildren. Yes, I said calmly, they are. And I love them. But loving them doesn't mean letting you exploit me. Exploit? We gave you a place to live. I gave you $100,000 and 3 years of unpaid labor worth over $300,000. Who's exploiting whom? On December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, Dylan came to me with a typed document. Fine, he said coldly. You want everything official? Here, we'll pay you $2,000 a month for childcare and household help. But you still pay $1,400 in rent. Net $600 to you. Take it or leave it. I read the document. It was full of requirements, hours, duties, expectations. No benefits, no vacation, no sick leave. And $1,400 back to them for rent meant I'd clear $600 a month for 80-plus hours of work per week. That's less than $2 an hour. Leave it, I said, handing it back. His face went purple. Then you need to move out. Okay, I said. The shock on his face almost made me laugh. What? Okay, I'll move out. Give me until January 15th to find a place. Mom, you've made your decision, Dylan. I've made mine. I found a one-bedroom apartment 3 miles away, $950 a month. Small but bright, with big windows and a little balcony. I moved out on January 12th, 2022. Dylan and Vanessa didn't help, didn't apologize, barely said goodbye. Bella cried. Jackson clung to my leg. That part broke my heart. Grandma will visit, I promised them. I'm not far away. But the truth is, Dylan made it very hard. He didn't return my calls, didn't respond to texts asking to see the kids. When I showed up for Bella's birthday party in February, Vanessa answered the door and said, "This is family only." "I'm her grandmother," I said. "You made your choice," she said, and closed the door. That was the last time I saw my grandchildren. It's been over 2 years now. But here's what happened after I left. I got a part-time job at the library, the one where I had hidden that first day of my revolution. 20 hours a week, $16 an hour, enough to supplement my Social Security. I joined that book club I'd wanted to join, made friends, real friends, women my age who valued me, who laughed with me, who saw me. I started volunteering at a women's shelter, helping domestic violence survivors rebuild their lives. Turns out, unpaid labor and exploitation happen in all kinds of relationships, not just romantic ones. I got a therapist, worked through the grief of losing my son, my grandchildren, my sense of family. I learned something important. I don't have to shrink myself to fit into someone else's life, even if that someone is my own child. I learned that love without respect isn't love. It's exploitation. I learned that my worth isn't determined by how much I sacrifice for others. It's inherent. And I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. So, honey, if you're listening to this and you see yourself in my story, if you're the invisible woman in your family, the unpaid laborer, the taken for granted caregiver, hear me. Your work has value. Your time has value. You have value. Don't wait for someone else to recognize it. Don't wait for permission to demand respect. Set your boundaries. Name your worth. And if they can't see it, can't honor it, can't appreciate it, walk away. It will hurt. God, it will hurt. But staying hurts more. And to the Dylan and Vanessas out there, the ones who take your mothers, your parents, your elders for granted, wake up before it's too late. That free help isn't free. That it's the least they can do is costing someone their dignity, their health, their sense of self. Childcare is work. Housekeeping is work. Cooking is work. Emotional labor is work. If you wouldn't expect a stranger to do it for free, why do you expect it from family? And if you lose them because you couldn't see their worth, You'll have nobody to blame but yourself. I'm 65 years old now. I live alone in my sunny little apartment with my books and my balcony garden and my Tuesday night book club. I still think about Bella and Jackson. I wonder if they remember me. I hope Dylan tells them I loved them. I hope one day, when they're older, they'll reach out. But I don't sit around waiting for that day because I've learned that my life, my worth, my happiness can't depend on someone else recognizing my value. I have to recognize it myself. And honey,